Clarksville City Council is now called to order. The chaplain of the day will be Pastor Jose Soto of Greater Commission Christian Church. Councilman Deanna McLaughlin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Soto, if you would, please come to the microphone, lead us in prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you wish.
Amen. Let us go before the Lord. Dear Heavenly and precious Father, as we convene today to deliberate and decide on matters concerning our city, we come before you seeking your divine presence and guidance. Grant us clarity of mind and purity of hearts as we navigate through the issues at hand. May your wisdom inspire our discussions and decisions, leading us to outcomes that honor you and serve the best interests of our community. Bless each council member with your grace and understanding, enabling us to work together in harmony and mutual respect. May your love guide our interactions, fostering unity and cooperation among us. We place our trust in you, Jesus, knowing that with you all things are possible. May your will be done in our city, and may your name be glorified through our efforts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members, please register your attendance. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
All members are present with the exceptions of Councilperson Little, Councilperson Redd, and Councilperson Shakina.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have two special recognitions on the agenda tonight. I'll call on Councilman McLaughlin first in the well for her recognition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Got it.
Is there a representative from Fort Campbell Traffic Safety here? Okay. This is Captain Chad Koyama. He is the commander over traffic safety for the police department and also community engagement. And we're going to do a proclamation on Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Whereas Clarksville, Montgomery County is finding more citizens involved in motorcycle on the roads of our community. Whereas motorcycles are roughly unprotected and therefore more prone to injury or death in a crash than other vehicle drivers. Whereas according to National Highway Traffic Safety Administration data, there were 6,218 motorcyclists killed in traffic crashes in 2022, which represents 15% of total highway fatalities for that year and a 1% increase from 2021. Whereas per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, motorcyclists were about 22 times more likely than passenger car occupants to die in a motor vehicle crash and 4 times more likely to be injured. And whereas speeding, like in all other years, was a major contributing factor to motorcyclist fatalities in 2022, and whereas 35% of all motorcycle riders involved in fatal crashes were speeding, compared to 22% of all passenger car drivers, 15% of light truck drivers, and 6% of all large truck drivers. And whereas motorcycle riders 21 to 24 years old were involved in fatal crashes in the highest speeding involvement at 51%. Whereas in Clarksville, from May 2023 through April 2024, there were 139 crashes involving motorcycles. Whereas 11 of the above-mentioned 139 motorcycle crashes in Clarksville were fatal crashes, with a total of 12 deceased persons. And whereas, like seatbelts, wearing DOT-compliant motorcycle helmets save lives and reduce injuries. And whereas campaigns have helped inform riders and motorcyclists alike on motorcycle safety issues to reduce motorcycle-related risks, injuries, and most of all fatalities through a comprehensive approach to motorcycle safety. Whereas it is the responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware motorcyclists, regarding them with the same respect as other vehicles traveling the highways of this country. And it is the responsibility of motorcyclists alike to obey all traffic laws and safety rules. And whereas it is the responsibility of all motorcycle operators to ride safely, it is the responsibility of riders to obey all traffic laws, speed limits, and safety rules. And whereas all citizens of our community need to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle, and for riders and motorists alike to give each other the mutual respect they deserve. Now therefore I, Joe Pitts, Mayor of the City of Clarksville, at the request of and in conjunction with Councilmember Deanna McLaughlin, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. Further, I urge all residents to do their part to increase motorcycle safety and awareness in our community. Thank you. Do you want to be in the picture? I can. Okay. Are you going to put your arm around him?
I love him. Got a gun, I'll do anything.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh,
Well done.
Thank you, Chuck.
thanks.
Sure.
Well done.
Thank you, Mayor.
This next proclamation is a bit of a surprise, but it should come as no surprise to the people that we will recognize next. We are proclaiming that this is the 55th annual Professional Municipal Clerk Week. So if you've spent any time in city government, you know that there is one position, and we are blessed to have two people filling that position, a clerk and deputy clerk, that are critical to the operations of the city. And if you spend any time in this body, you know that they are very, very important. To use a well-worn phrase, they keep the trains running on time. So thank you to Lisa Canfield and our Deputy Clerk, Stephanie Jenkins. And it is my honor to present to them and declare the May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And I wanted to present this to you, and you'll have to sign your own proclamation, Lisa. And let's give them a round of applause if you don't mind. We have individual certificates for you, and then we also have gifts for you. And then you got to go back to work.
Okay.
All right, bring it in. Bring it in.
That's right. Here we go.
Thank you. Just slide that by us.
Yeah, we had a little help. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Planning Commission report. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, will you please read the ordinances?
Ordinance 84, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z5, 2024, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Conwood Company for a zone change on 8 parcels south of Franklin Street, north of Commerce Street and 10th Street, and east of 7th Street, and 4 parcels at the southwest corner of Commerce Street and 10th Street from M1 Light Industrial District to CBD Central Business District. Ordinance 93, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z14, 2024, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of William Ballou for zone change on a portion of attractive land fronting on the west frontage of Needmore Road, 500 plus or minus feet south of the Needmore and Cardinal Creek Drive intersection, from AG Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District. Ordinance 94, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z15, 2024, in accordance with City Code Section 1-204, the applicant has requested to withdraw this item. Ordinance 95, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z17, 2024, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Donald C. or Maureen Sagar for zone change on a portion of a lot fronting on Richview Road, 255 plus or minus feet south of the Richview Road and Chickasaw Drive intersection, from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Single Family Residential District. Ordinance 96, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z19, 2024, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Daniel Hayes for zone change on a portion of the northwest corner of the Shannon Street and Ashbury Road intersection from C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District to R2A Single Family Residential District, and Ordinance 97, 2023-24, first reading, zoning case Z20, 2024, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Clarkland for zone change on the northwest corner of the Highway 41A bypass and Denny Road intersection from R1 Single Family Residential District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District.
Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move that we go into public hearing.
Motion been made and properly seconded to revert to public hearing without objection. We are now in public hearing. First item on our public hearing agenda is item A, ordinance 84, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of the Conwood Company. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of ordinance 84? Okay, our code allows for two, so if there's more than two, y'all have to draw lots or throw down or something. If you would, give us your name and you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much good evening to everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. My name's John Wilson. I run a company called Balance View. We're an international specialist in legacy real estate and the regeneration and master planning of city centres. I'm speaking first. Mark Braden is going to pick up and summarise at the end. In the audience, we have Jason Runyon, James Mullins, Tim Brown, and Houston Smith, in case there's any questions on any details. So the site. I'm exceptionally passionate about this site. So I work all over the world, in America, Africa, Europe, UK, and very, very rarely do you get an opportunity of a site of this scale with the type of buildings on it that is so close to a city centre. It's ideal. So the location is, what blows me away is 120-year-old factories. And people say, as an Englishman, you must deal with loads of those. We knock them all down. You've got them here. We don't have any. And so that part of it is just brilliant and is the very centre of this type of development. So what is a conceptual master plan? So we've circulated that. What it is, it's a framework to brief.
Mr. Wilson, I'll invite you to stay at the microphone if you would, please, sir.
Right, will do.
Thank you.
It's a framework to brief potential investors and developers, to keep a framework that actually addresses what the city wants. So we develop it with the city, and so we'll develop it over time. So we won't be taking this to market, should we get the rezoning, until the end of the year, because we want to work with yourselves and with the city to make sure that the actual blend that we've actually got in this development actually matches what is good for the city. And that works both ways, because an investor developer will want that. And that's how you get people interested. And that's the real success behind these type of projects, is giving clarity so that people can price them and put a timing proceed in and actually run with these type of projects. You get a lot more proper investors who want to develop this type of property. And it keeps within the framework. So what is the opportunity? So the opportunity is to really invigorate a backwater of Clarksville, which has been left obviously vacant for the last 4 years. And through rezoning from industrial to CBD, repurpose it to a live, work, play environment. And something that's green with parks, walkability, has social, economic benefits, mix of employment, social housing, and it fits with the comprehensive plan of the city. And it's critical to preserve the historic legacy. The historic legacy is what is so important is if you want to build green, the best thing is not to build a building, is to actually repurpose a building. These buildings, I encourage, if anybody hasn't been inside them, they are just out of this world. They are literally like stepping back in time. They've been kept in such fantastic order. And we want these to be the centre of the development. So this is our conceptual downtown concept. So as you can see, what we want to do is to encourage a development. Sorry, if I do this. There. So what we're trying to do is give the concept that it has to stay and reflect the history. And in that way, it becomes something that the city can lean on. It's half a mile from the city centre. The level of interest I think that we'll find for this type of development will be very high and really will be high quality, and it will be people who will want to partner with the city. So that's really the end of my part, which is we want to create a vision. We want everybody to buy into it, and obviously, in order to create that vision, we need to move the zoning from industrial to CBD. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Questions? We do have a question or a comment for you. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. Pick me, I want to go inside. But seriously, I was wondering, have you met, sir, with the Historical Society in town or any of the people?
Not yet. One of the really important things for us is that for us is the next stage, because there's so many other ways effectively of supporting the development. So one is obviously ring fencing the history. And honestly, when you go in the buildings, it's like walking it back in time. And that needs to be preserved. And when Mark speaks, the reality here is Reynolds, and we've got people who worked for Conwood before here with us. It's to keep that whole feeling of those buildings. But the other thing is there's federal historic tax credits, there are grants, there's funds. That nationally, America wants to keep history. And
So I would like to help you connect and maybe get a presentation. I'm not sure with the group. We have a historical foundation and we meet, and I would like to invite you to be a guest speaker and present this.
I would love to do that, and we can
Yes.
bring other examples of how we've preserved history.
I
Yeah.
would like that. I'm not sure. Contact. My husband is 1234. He'll give you my card. Thank you, and I would like to connect and make that happen.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you, sir.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Wilson, thank you for this concept of showing how you have set up your design for downtown. And you said something that made me think. You said the Clarksville downtown concept will reflect the history of downtown of the city that they can lean on. So my question to you is, will y'all be building parking lots or parking garage with this concept? Because we do have a problem with parking downtown. And so that would be a good way for us to lean on you.
So one of the things we've designed here is, and it's more in, I can show it in this. So what we wanted to do is to create a green environment which was walkable, the walkability aspect. Because what we didn't want to do is to overload the streets with cars. So we're trying to get down to 1 or 2 movements of a car a day. whilst it doesn't look as though there's a lot of parking, we've actually hidden the parking underneath the buildings. So there, in this design, which is 1.1 million square feet, there's over 200,000 square foot of parking actually underneath the buildings. So we have addressed it, but we've sort of hidden it. Because what we're trying to do is, rather than have loads of parking lots, we want to really create green areas. Because if we do more parking lots away, not underneath the buildings, we'll lose some of the walkability and the green areas and the sort of the conduits that run through that really make this a sort of a great connected area.
But if the parking is up under the building, I don't think you'll lose the green area.
That's what we're aiming at doing, yeah. That's why we're putting the parking underneath the
Under, you
buildings.
said, okay. Uh-huh. I know, but I thought I heard you say that we're putting the parking under the buildings, right?
Yeah,
Because you didn't want to affect the green area. Is that correct? You
Correct.
wanna make sure you got a lot of walkability.
yeah. No, exactly. Otherwise, if we spread it over, it was gonna, we actually did one earlier design and it just
And that's fine. I think
became
that-
too much concrete.
It's good, but you just
Yeah.
didn't mention it in your concept. So I was listening for that, but you left that out.
Okay, well, looks like you can get you want a job. It's like,
No, I'm retired. Thank you.
but no, thank you for picking up on that. That's absolutely what we're trying to do. So the parking's in there.
Okay.
You
but
just can't see it on the graphics. Yeah.
Okay. So, and so this is gonna be a CBD type setup, right? So you're gonna have, you said eat, walk, and play. Eat, work, and play. So are you gonna have housing?
Yeah, so housing-wise, there's about 350,000 square feet.
350,000 square. And these are gonna be apartments, is that correct?
There'll be apartments and yeah, basically, there'll be a mix. Obviously, the development is big enough to actually have a great mix, you know? So there should be workforce, there should be affordable, there should be multifamily. There's enough to push the elements in. Because the whole idea is to create a community.
And this to try to bring more Austin Peay students in, that would be the idea, the general idea, because I know you said you want to reflect the history and what's going on downtown and around that area.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I might take a job from you, I'm joking. All right, thank you, sir.
Any other comment or question for Mr. Wilson? Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 84? We have room for one more. Give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Mark Braden with Reynolds. I'll never give up a chance to speak here about this great opportunity. Come from Winston-Salem, but I'm a native Tennessean. And a point of personal privilege, my sister's graduating from Austin Peay tomorrow, so I'm a twofer here to be with you all tonight and be with her tomorrow. So conceptually, I think the rezoning allows us to continue the conversation about what's best for the city of Clarksville. We've already done this previously with a property in Memphis, and it's the Conwood Legacy in Memphis there. Again, a great development that was a really big part of development and an infill property there in Memphis. And so, my big part for being here is to talk about the commitment we have to Clarksville. Winston-Salem is our home. We've been we're coming up on our 150th anniversary as a company. But here in Clarksville, we've been here since 1904, 120 years. And so we've been a part of Clarksville's past. We're part of Clarksville's present. And a big part of this is to make sure that we are being a good partner for Clarksville's future. We put over $35 million in capital expenditures in expanding our footprint in Montgomery County, this community, with our property out in Guthrie Highway. We have 2 major manufacturing facilities in the United States. One is in Winston-Salem, and one is here. It's not just because I'm a Tennessean, but we consider Tennessee our second home. And so, with this move from industrial to CDB, we believe that this continues this conversation, how Reynolds can be a part of Clarksville's future and make sure we're doing things the right way with you your team, the council, and the community at large. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Braden? Councilperson Smith, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, sir. And congratulations for your, I think you said your daughter's graduating?
Sister, yeah, my
Oh,
daughter.
sister.
She's 10. I mean, that would be amazing if she graduated from
Oh.
college at 10.
All
Possible.
right.
It's possible.
That's possible, yeah. We got some little kids that's 5 years old already in college. So that's not impossible. You know what I'm
Amazing.
saying?
That is amazing.
Everything is possible with God.
100%.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So I look at life different from some
Absolutely.
people are narrow-minded, so you have to just kind of like, okay, laugh with them.
Well, she wants to play in the WNBA, and she's about this tall at 10,
All right.
so
That's all
we'll
right.
get there.
We got some little smart children that's smarter than us.
Hopefully, she's smarter than her dad.
But anyway, I forgot what my question was. Let's see. Oh, Lord. Hold on. I'm going to be graduating too, so hold on. But anyway, I was going to say, how much would the apartments be? And I know we're thinking about trying to connect Austin P in
Yes,
some
ma'am.
kind of way with this for the students. About how much would they run?
I'll defer this to John, but I think a big part of tonight is with the rezoning. That allows us to have that conversation. We can't have that conversation in the future without the rezoning. And it allows us the flexibility, John and his team, to have that flexibility to find the right, and you all to find the right developer to have that conversation with what is right, what's the right mix, et cetera.
Okay.
I'm not a housing expert. I'm an expert on
That's okay.
other
That's all right.
things.
I understand.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, any other comment or question for Mr. Braden? Thank you, sir. If you don't mind, take those boards and easel so we don't obscure the view of the public. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 84? Next ordinance is ordinance 93, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of William Ballou. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 93? Mr. Ross, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm Stanley Ross. I'm here representing the applicant, Mr. Ballou, in this application. We're asking to go from ag to R1. We would ask you to approve that ordinance. We are asking just to go to the lowest density residential use that's available out there. We initially had a request for some adjacent property for R4. We've withdrawn that request, and we're just asking for the limited area that's R1 right now. There was a traffic study done, I think, that included the R4. So that's actually, given that we're not asking for that, that's going to, have a better impact on traffic for now. And then we're willing to work with the street, if we go to submit a plat or a plan, we'll definitely work with street department and all the utility departments to make everything like it needs to be out there. If there's any questions, we don't have a preliminary plan yet. We're waiting to see how the rezoning goes, but I'll be happy to answer anything that I do have knowledge of. And we just ask you to approve the application today.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Any questions for Mr. Ross? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 93? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 93? Next item on our public hearing list is item D. If you'll recall, ordinance 94 was withdrawn at the request of the applicant. So ordinance D, item ordinance 95, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Donald C. and Maureen Sager. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 95? Mr. Powers, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
I'm Bryce Powers, here representing the Sagers. They are present tonight to ask me to speak for them. This property in question is 120 Chickasaw Drive, and it's been their home since 2013. And now they're deciding they want to parcel off a small lot at the rear of their existing house and build themselves a downsizing house. They've asked me to be a part of that process for them as well. This property does adjoin commercial to the south, the Richview Commercial Center there, and their own property, to the north that will remain, that they're not asking for rezoning on, and then Mr. Todd Harvey's property to the west. I think he's here to speak tonight as well. There was support from the RPC staff, support from the voting commission, and we would ask for your support tonight as well, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Any comment or question for Mr. Powers? Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Mr. Powers, were there any oppositions from any neighbors or people around this area?
No, ma'am. In fact, in a weird, an unusual event, Mr. Harvey, a neighbor, is here to speak in favor, I believe.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
You don't
sir.
see that often.
Thank you,
so.
Mayor.
Thank you. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to add to that Mr. Harvey reached out to me directly as the city council representative for the property owners and himself, and said that him and other neighbors didn't take any issue with this rezoning request. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question? Thank you, Mr. Powers. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 95? Mr. Harvey, give us your name. You have 5 minutes, please, sir.
My name's Todd Harvey. I guess I have to speak since Bryce threw me under the bus. My name's Todd Harvey. I live at 118 Chickasaw Drive. I joined this property immediately to the west. Like he said, it passed planning commission staff, and we would ask that you grant this rezoning to R2.
Any comment or question for Mr. Harvey? Thank you, sir.
Thank
You
you.
did well. Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 95? Next item on our Planning Commission public hearing report is ordinance 96, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Daniel Hayes. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 96? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 96? Next item is item F, ordinance 97, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Clarkland. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 97? Mr. Baggett, if you give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Luke Baggett, and I am here to ask you guys to rezone this property from R1 to C5. We believe that this would be a good zone change, an appropriate zone change, because of all the properties to the sides of us are all already currently zoned C5. So I'm here to answer any questions or concerns that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett. Any comment or question for Mr. Baggett? Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. My favorite questions. Any oppositions from anybody? Because, you know.
No, ma'am, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comment or question for Mr. Baggett? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of ordinance 97? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against ordinance 97? Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. I move we go back into regular session.
Motion been made and properly seconded to revert to regular session. Without objection, we're now in regular session. Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. As a reminder, based on the recommendation of our legal counsel, all motions will be in the form of approval. Ordinance 84, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Conwood Company LP, American Snuff Company LLC for zone change on 8 parcels south of Franklin Street, north of Commerce Street and 10th Street, and east of 7th Street, and 4 parcels at the southwest corner of Commerce Street and 10th Street from M1 Light Industrial District to CBD Central Business District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 84. Any comment or question from council regarding ordinance 84? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
10 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 84 passes first reading. Councilperson Streetman.
Ordinance 93, 2023, 24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of William Ballou for zone change on a portion of a tract of land fronting on the west frontage of Needmore Road, 500 plus or minus feet south of the Needmore and Cardinal Creek Drive intersection from AG Agriculture District to R1 Single Family Residential District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 93. Any comment or questions? I see them. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. This is really a jewel in the middle of our city. It's totally actually 146.9 acres. We're not going to get very many more of these opportunities to really build a community rather than just putting up apartments and houses. This property, because of its location, should be a planned use development with mixed use, because as we increase density, there's really no businesses close by. It's really a car dependent. And I just think that we should develop this as a total community and not like come back and rezone it piece by piece as we've done in the past. That would be a missed opportunity. Also, Needmore Road is very crowded, and I ask that you please not add any density until the road construction is done. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The previous speaker, her last comments were part of mine, so I won't repeat those. But when this case and the case that's been deferred or pulled came up last week, I clicked around on the assessor property satellite, and there are several parcels off Needmore Road that are already zoned for R1, R1A, and R4 that are not yet developed. So when those are developed, we're still going to have problems. And I agree, we do need to wait until we have our widening project in place. We cannot continue to rezone things until we catch up with infrastructure. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
3 yes, 7 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 93 fails. Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 94, 2023-24 has been withdrawn in accordance with the City Code Section 1-204. Ordinance 95, 2023-24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the City of Clarksville, application of Donald C. or Maureen Sager for zone change on a portion of a lot fronting on Richview Road, 255 plus or minus feet south of the Richview Road and Chickasaw Drive intersection from R1 Single Family Residential District to R2 Single Family Residential District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion's been made.
Second.
And properly seconded in favor of ordinance 95. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you. Again, I have heard from residents in the area that are right there in the close proximity of the property, and they are supportive of this change. And as the representative for Ward 10 and these individuals, I would ask that you vote in favor of this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question regarding ordinance 95? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
10 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 95 adopted, first reading. Councilperson Streetman.
Ordinance 96, 2023-24, first reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the City of Clarksville, application of Daniel Hayes for zone change on a portion of the northwest corner of the Shannon Street and Ashbury Road intersection from C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District to R2A Single Family Residential District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 96. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned last week when we were in non-voting session, I'm concerned about the drainage that will go from these lots, flow down the hill to the area that already drains due to the sinkhole. And until we can get some answers on how they're going to route the additional water that will not be absorbed by the foliage, I don't feel comfortable voting in favor of this. I want to make it clear I'm not against those lots being developed, but I need to understand where the water's going to go and how they're going to prevent the houses over near the sinkhole from getting flooded. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This would almost be a question to the previous speaker. Would you be more comfortable if we postpone this a month to allow you to get more answers to your questions?
Councilperson McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, that'd be fine, but nobody is here supporting this case. I spoke about my concerns last week. Nobody contacted me about it. So if the majority would like to postpone, that's fine, but I recommend that the person who is trying to redevelop this property reach out, not just to me, but to the neighbors over there. I'm not the council member of this area, but I was when the house was flooded, when the homeowner was in Afghanistan and had to come home on emergency leave, and I don't want that to happen to anybody else. And the houses that are on the back of that sinkhole do get water in them at this time. So if you want to make that motion, I'll support it, but I recommend that the person that's trying to rezone this reach out to us. Thank you.
I'll just make the motion then, just because I brought it up, and if the council votes in favor of it, so be it. Make a motion to postpone this until the next meeting.
Motion been made and properly seconded to postpone ordinance 96 to the June regular session. Any comment or question regarding the motion to postpone? Councilperson Reynolds, did you wish to speak to the motion to postpone? You're recognized.
I would just like to say that I agree with the councilperson from Ward 2. I have significant concerns regarding, creating a buyer beware building on a floodplain, and they can come forward and talk about it, but I think that we need significant improvements to our storm water management program, not just what are we going to do about this lot because of the other homes involved. So I will be not voting for this either.
Councilperson Streetman, on your motion to postpone, you're recognized.
I do just want to say, and this is not necessarily to the council, it would obviously be to the applicant for this. Should this postponement pass, I would recommend that they reach out to the council themselves. It's to get the questions answered, because it was addressed both that last week and this week.
Councilperson Allen, you're recognized on the motion to postpone.
I would say let's not postpone. If we're going to vote for it, we need to go ahead and vote for it. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it does pass, we do have another month to go ahead on and hear it. I mean, just like we say for everything else.
Any other comment or question on the motion to postpone ordinance 96? Seeing none, hearing none, we're voting on the motion to postpone ordinance 96. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
5 yes, 5 no, 0 abstain.
The motion to postpone fails. We're back on the ordinance as presented, ordinance 96. Any further comment or question regarding ordinance 96? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote on ordinance 96? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
0 yes, 10 no, 0 abstain.
It was close. Ordinance 96 fails. Councilperson Streetman.
I'm sorry. I had the previous case pulled up in front of me. Ordinance 97, 2023-24, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Clarkland for zone change on the northwest corner of the Highway 41A bypass and Denny Road intersection from R1 Single Family Residential District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. Both the Regional Planning Commission and the staff recommended approval, and I so move.
Motion been made. Do I hear a second? Fails for lack of a second. Councilperson Streetman.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, we're now on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the consent agenda.
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 73, 2023-24, second reading. This item was postponed at the April 4th regular session. An ordinance levying a privilege tax upon the occupancy of any hotel or motel or any place in which rooms, lodging, or accommodations are furnished to transients for consideration. Ordinance 85, 2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville. Application of Quick Trip Corp. For zone change on property located at the northwest corner of West Vintage Way and Vintage Way intersection from C4 Highway Interchange District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. Ordinance 87, 2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville. Application of Sean Robertson for zone change on property west of and adjacent to Martin Street, south of Crossland Avenue, east of Cumberland Drive, from R3, three-family residential district, to R6, single-family residential district. Ordinance 88, 2023-24, second reading, amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville, application of Sean Robertson for zone change on property on the northwest corner of the Tiny Town Road and Green Acres Drive intersection from R1, single-family residential district, to C5, highway and arterial commercial district. Ordinance 91, 2023-24, second reading, an ordinance adopting the Comprehensive Plan 2024. Resolution 46, 2023-24, a resolution approving appointments to the Gas and Plumbing Board, the Human Relations Commission, and the Board of Equalization, and the adoption of minutes from April 4th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll entertain a motion in a second. Point of order, Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we may have made a mistake on the last item on the Planning Commission report. I don't know that we can, when a motion does not receive a second, I believe according to Robert's rules, and maybe the city attorney can weigh in, it hasn't actually been acted on, and I do think that we have to act on that.
This is where you earn your keep. Mr. Bittner?
Robert's Rules for Dummies. It's my favorite.
All right. Good question. We'll take a pause for a moment. Give Mr. Bittner time to look that up. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add a little bit to what the council member from Ward 1, and the reason I agree with him is I know that it's based on legal recommendation is that all of those do have to be a motion for approval, and I believe I remember Mr. Baker talking about that before, that when it comes to zoning cases, we do actually have to vote on them.
Okay, Mr. Bittner?
I would agree with, excuse me, Councilperson Zacharias said. I think it needs to come before and be voted on.
Okay, the posture is, though, that it failed for lack of a second. Do we need a particular procedural motion to bring it back to us?
Yeah, I would recommend that. If you can do that motion, bring it back before you and then.
Okay, all right. Well, we do have a motion and a second in favor of the consent agenda before us. Let's dispose of the consent agenda, and then we'll come back and pick up that item.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would, please pull item A, Ordinance 73, from the consent agenda. Councilperson McLaughlin on the consent agenda.
I would like to pull Ordinance 88, 2023-24.
Okay, we will take that up immediately following the consent agenda as well. Anyone else wish to be recognized? Councilperson Allen on the consent agenda.
Did they already pull 73?
Yes.
Okay. My bad, I missed it.
It's okay. Anyone else on the consent agenda? All right. With the exception of those two items, we are now voting on the consent agenda. Every member, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
10 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain.
Consent agenda is adopted. We'll now go back and revisit that Planning Commission item F, Ordinance 97, 2023-24. I will entertain a motion in favor. Do I hear a second? Properly seconded. Thank you. Now we are on Ordinance 97, the last zoning ordinance. Any comment or question regarding that zoning ordinance? Councilperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is a question for Mr. Bentner. What's the point of even having a second if we have to talk about it anyways and discuss it and vote on it. Then it kind of just negates the point of having a second for the motion. Is that correct? I'm just curious, just.
Excuse me, according to Robert's rules, if no second is forthcoming, the motion is said to fall to the ground, simply doesn't come before the group. If this happens, the chair states it as the case and moves on to the next item of business. However, someone raises and starts making comments, then the motion is considered seconded. So that's what I thought that, Councilperson Zacharias had done. So that was considered to be a second, and it brings it back before the floor for discussion.
All right, thank you. Yep, appreciate it. And, I still need to.
You're recognized.
I would still like to address the zoning. So this zoning, if they weren't doing all the constructions in that intersection, the bypass needs to be widened. That is an absolute disaster area next to Denny Road and Rotary Park. That whole area. If that intersection was working at like 100% capacity, I mean, I'd probably, depending on the traffic, I'd probably be more in favor of it. But just the fact that we've got all this construction going on, I think there's some construction going on Denny Road. It's just an absolute just cluster of different cars. Sometimes you play dodge the construction equipment. Sometimes you play dodge the potholes. It's kind of fun, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to vote this down, and I'd appreciate it if y'all voted it down too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comment or question regarding this ordinance? Okay, we are now voting on ordinance 97. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
2 yes, 8 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 97 fails. For real this time. Okay. All right, we are now on the two items that were pulled from the consent agenda. The first item is ordinance 73, 2023-24, an ordinance levying a privilege tax upon the occupancy of any hotel or motel in any place in which rooms, lodging, or accommodations are furnished to transients for consideration. In order to get it properly before us and entertain an amendment that I've got, I'll entertain a motion and a second. Motion and properly seconded. Members, here is an amendment that I discussed last week at the executive session. I'll give you a moment to get that amendment, and then I will walk you through the three changes that are in the amendment for ordinance 73. Ordinance 73 amendment will reduce in the first whereas and throughout the body of the ordinance the occupancy tax from 4% to 2.75%. In the third whereas clause, we are removing the Customs House Museum to give the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Authority time to be stood up and give the Customs House Museum time to see how that will work. It does not jeopardize their funding. It merely does not include them in the act authority initially. And then it will change the effective date of this ordinance to January 1st, 2025. And I will entertain a motion and a second. Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of this amendment. Any comment or question regarding this amendment? Councilperson Streetman, you are recognized.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
I have brought forward, and I'd like to make a motion for an amendment to your amendment.
Okay. Do you have a written copy?
I do.
Okay.
Here you go. I am actually requesting the council that the only change in this amendment, other than what was just covered by the mayor, was changing the amended rate that he has brought forward of 2.75% to 3.25%, as that will allow us some protection against any potential increases in construction costs. So I would just ask that you support this amendment.
You've heard
And
the-
make a motion for the amendment.
You've heard the motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Properly seconded. Any comment or question regarding this amendment? Councilperson Reynolds on the amendment, on Streetman amendment.
Yes, Mayor. I'm struggling because we've heard so much from the hotel and motel community that they're requesting a 2%. We've heard the same conversation from our from our tourism department, as well as I just continue to say that this is a significant tax increase on a very small segment of our population of business. Every hotel dollar that comes in, there's $1.50 spent in our community. That's an average. And we are actually taking a very small group of people and really impacting their business by everything that we've read to build something that the entire community will benefit from, but they're the only ones really paying the tax increase. And just as a reminder, the 4% increase was about a 4% interest was about a 3 pennies and 3.44 penny tax increase, and the other one was about a 2.17 penny increase. So we're increasing our tax base in our community on the backs of a very small segment, and I don't agree with any of this, but I certainly don't agree with going to 3.25 instead of, actually, I think it should be at 2.
Councilperson Holloman on the Streetman amendment.
Yes.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's a 3.25% increase compared to a 2.75%, and that's to, I guess, protect against inflation and like costs going up. If we're cutting it that close to the line, then I'm not going to vote for this. Because that's a 0.5%, and if that's going to make the difference between victory and defeat, then what are we doing? Thank you.
Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to say that I support this at 4%, but out of respect for the deal that was negotiated or discussed with the members of the hotel owner community, I will vote against this amendment to honor that arrangement that has been worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question regarding this amendment? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote on the Streetman amendment to my amendment? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
2 yes, 8 no, 0 abstain.
The amendment fails. The amendment to the amendment. We're back on my amendment as presented. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, I would like to amend the mayor's amendment to 2%. I understand that there's conversations being had and working things out, but the hotel motel have come forward. That is still a significant increase. It is still really putting their ability to do business on the line, and I think that we owe that compromise to them. So I would like to amend this to a 2% increase based on all of the emails and all of the information that has been shared with all of us up here from the community, as well as report from the hotel businesses, and so I motion to change it to 2%.
Do you have that? We need that in writing, please.
Can I just scratch yours off?
Sure
Okay.
can. Got to have it in writing.
So, okay.
Need copies.
Can,
Madam Clerk.
thank you.
Yeah.
got plenty, okay.
Okay, that's 2%. That's a percentage sign. Councilperson McLaughlin on the Reynolds amendment to the Pitts amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to address the chair. From what I understand, what you explained to us last week is 2.75 is the lowest we can go to still house the Arts and Heritage Development Council and complete this project.
That's right.
So without the 2.75, we will not see a performing arts center.
We will not. In fact, at 2%, we won't see anything. We may as well do zero.
Thank you.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
The previous speaker actually asked my question, and comment I was going to make is when we first postponed this a month ago, the request from the individuals that they asked for it to be 2%. I appreciate that the mayor worked over the last month to actually find what was a actual compromise of the 2.75%. And I, like the speaker from Ward 1, am also supportive of the other measure as well, but that was a true compromise. Just granting what was requested isn't a compromise. That's just giving them what they asked for. And I think that if there was anything that was going to be done, it should have worked both directions. So I will be voting against the newest amendment to this amendment.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized on your amendment.
Yes, I would also like to add that by moving the cost of these facilities, our budget now has, this year, if we took what we budgeted last year, $268,000. If we add the museum into it, then that's like 1.3 million that's left in our budget that we could match some of the funds and come back for a compromise again. Or there are other, conversations being had with, the state and the county to make up the difference, or grants. So I still say that this is an unfair tax, and it's not a representative of equality and equity in our community by having them bear such a brunt of the cost.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized on the Reynolds amendment.
Well, I have a question, but I don't know who can answer this. My question I asked, and you can tell me what to do. Whoever wants to. When was the last time we had a tax increase on hotel and motel taxes?
Well, the city's never had an occupancy tax. The county does have an occupancy tax of 8%.
Okay, but we never had one.
We have not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. To the sponsor of this amendment, do you have some examples of some of the other opportunities that you know about for funding this project?
I know there was.
Councilperson Reynolds,
Sorry,
question is
Mayor.
directed to you.
Sorry, Mayor. I know that there was conversation, the county has 8%. This makes us one of the highest rates in the nation. And I know that there's ongoing conversations about trying to find other funding to make up the gap. And I just don't think that we should draw the line for this at 2.75. I think the conversation should continue.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you have the floor.
I was trying to think of a response, but I'll just go with what came to mind. So I know that you all understand my frustration, the fact that about 90% of our local option sales tax goes to fund county schools. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't probably need to be looking at this occupancy tax for funding our Performing Arts Center. There's nothing we can do about that. That was a private act that was passed years and years ago, but literally, I believe $90 million of our local option sales tax went to fund a county entity last year. If we had that money, we would probably be able to utilize it for this project. We don't have it.
Councilperson Streetman on the Reynolds amendment.
Yes, sir. I guess I wasn't sure that we really got an answer to the question in regard to the funding from the county and the state that was referenced by the sponsor of this amendment. I would still like to know the answer to that question.
Is that directed to the sponsor of the amendment?
That's directed to the sponsor.
Okay, you're recognized, Councilperson Reynolds.
There are, I mean, again, working with the county and state to come down with grants. And I just would say, once again, I support the arts, I support Roxy. And when I voted to purchase a property, I knew that we were going to pay for a new area, and I stand by
hang on.
that. I just think that we need to continue researching other
Councilperson
options.
Reynolds, I was still just looking for the answer to my question, and I know you'll get your opportunity to speak again, but
I don't have all the answers. I'm just saying that I don't agree with that this is the only answer.
I
And that we need to
understand.
continue that conversation.
Okay, the question's been asked and answered. Councilperson Streetman, you have the floor.
Like I said, I was just trying to actually get that information so that it was available to all of us, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are now on the Reynolds Amendment to the Pitts Amendment. Any other comment or question? We're voting on the Reynolds Amendment. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
3 yes, 7 no, 0 abstain.
Amendment fails. We're now back on the Pitts Amendment. Any comment or question regarding that amendment? Seeing none, hearing none, we're voting on the amendment to Ordinance 73. All members, please cast your vote. Yeah, this is the Pitts Amendment. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
9 yes, 1 no, 0 abstain.
The amendment is adopted. We're now back on the ordinance as amended. Any comment or question regarding the ordinance as amended? Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So in my comments on the amendment, I mentioned that I supported it at 4%. I'm doing my best to separate out emotion from this, because I'll be honest, some of the emails that I got have ranged from condescending to insulting. So I'm going to answer some of the questions that have been asked of me over the course of this process. Do I think Clarksville is a destination city? Yes, I do. Do I think people are going to come to Clarksville to see a play at the Roxy? Yes, I do. One question that I was in the process of answering before the meeting was called to order. Somebody asked me to please forward the HVS study that I read that shows growth in hotel occupancy and revenues after the implementation of a 4% tax. That email continues to say, by the way, what are your thoughts after reading the HVS study that I forwarded to all the council members? So just so you know, I'm referencing the study. It's the same study, okay? If we look at slide 31, actually we can back up here to slide 30 of that study that said ADR is forecasted to grow at an annual rate of 3% without the occupancy tax. The study goes on to say that growth would slow, but growth would continue to happen, okay? This is not a situation where this study is telling us that adding this, even at 4%, is going to cause occupancy rates to fall or revenue to fall. Quite the opposite. It says that the high impact of a 4% hotel occupancy tax would be a 0.4% decline in growth, not in ADR completely. On slide 32, we see that the high impact of a tax increase, and we see projected profits or revenues over the next 5 years, and they go up every year, okay? This study, if anything, has solidified my support for this tax, and it shows that hotel occupancy and hotel revenues are projected to increase, to climb, maybe at a slower rate, but still increase, still go up. Slower growth is still growth. And if we're trading slower growth for a performing arts center, I think that is a trade worth making. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify also to make sure I understand. Section 6 of the amendment indicates that the hotels will not pay this tax to the trustee who will then disperse them. They're going to have the added function of record keeping and paying directly to the city. Is that correct?
We are currently in discussions with the trustee's office regarding record-keeping, reporting, and collecting.
Okay.
We don't need to get the cart before the horse. Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you. I want to tack on just a little bit to what my fellow council member said from Ward 1 in reading the different emails. And I know one statement that kind of stood out to me was that we don't have anything here in Clarksville and any type of entertainment to bring people in. This is exactly what this will bring, is a source of entertainment. And I agree. I think people will come in from out of town to see a play that's being put on as far as by the Roxy, but by the Performing Arts Center. But again, what's been mentioned before about all the other opportunities that we have to be able to have there. You can actually have more than one show going on at one time. You can have dance competitions going on. There's all sorts of different opportunities that we can have to bring entertainment and bring people to this community for them, families that might have kids that are participating in a dance or a cheer competition. There's lots of things that'll be able to be housed there, and I'm supportive of this as well, and I just appreciate the comments that you made to start with.
Councilperson Allen, you're recognized on the ordinance.
So I have a question, and then I'm gonna make my comments. And I guess my question is for the sponsor of the whole thing. You. My question is, after the Performing Arts Center is complete, since we're saying we're raising it for that, is it going back down?
Well, we will have debt to service.
So
So
it's
we're
just gonna
not-
stay where it's at?
Well, we will have debt to service for probably 25 to 30 years, like paying on a note. And then 25 and 30 years, when the debt's paid off, then the next mayor and council can decide whether they reduce it
All right.
or eliminate it.
So I've listened to everybody's comments, and as you guys know, I was not here last week. So I've been reading, I've been watching everything that's going on with this. I've been talking to other people. And while I do understand that a performing arts, because I'm an arts person, I really am, and yes, I will patronize an art center oh so often. However, we're sitting up here saying, yes, it will bring people to Clarksville, it will bring people to Clarksville, but then they're gonna go down the street to stay somewhere else. So we're getting an arts center, but they're gonna go stay somewhere else because it's too expensive for them to stay in Clarksville. And I think we're creating a conundrum by doing this right here. So, I mean, either way, neither thing is convincing me. I'm just still don't know. Thank you.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Final comment on this, I promise. The council member from Ward 10 mentioned about people coming to Clarksville. A couple weeks ago, our arena had 2 sold-out nights of Leanne Morgan, and I was at the Friday night show, and she's local from Adams, Tennessee, and she asked the audience, how many of you are here from out of town? About 50% of the people clapped or raised their hands. I was sitting next to people from Lexington, Kentucky. There are people from Cincinnati, Ohio behind me. We already have people coming into our attractions. This will just add to it and give people another opportunity to spend money in our businesses and our community. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
I'd just like to say that I don't disagree with anything that's really been said. I just disagree that we're putting this funding mechanism on the backs of one industry when the entire hotels and stores all will benefit. That's my, I mean, I appreciate finding different ways to fund it. I just, again, feel that this is a very small portion of our community, and they should not be the only ones to fund the Roxy. And I just, again, feel that we should continue to work on finding other resources. I'm sorry, not the Roxy.
Okay, any other comment or question on the ordinance? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
6 yes, 4 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 73 is adopted, second reading. We're going to go back to item D from the consent agenda, ordinance 88. Councilperson McLaughlin, you pulled that. You're recognized on item D.
For discussion purposes, I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion been made and properly seconded in favor of ordinance 88. Councilperson McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like for us to reconsider this ordinance. It was the rezoning case on Tiny Town Road at the border of the Green Acre subdivision. And this would make the first part of that neighborhood commercial. And if you recall, the reasoning behind it was that there wasn't enough commercial to service the neighbors. And we did see that there's commercial pretty close to it, to include the Walmart Marketplace and other businesses closer to Fort Campbell Boulevard. And I think that this will set precedent and we'll start rezoning commercial along that whole property line of a neighborhood that's been here since right after the Korean War. So I just ask for you all to please reconsider if you voted in favor of this last time, and please vote no. Thank you.
Councilperson Streetman on the ordinance.
Thank you. I support the statements made prior to, made by the previous speaker. I was one that voted against this last time. I had concerns with it, essentially putting a commercial property in a neighborhood. I understand that there is commercial in other places, but the only way currently you're going to be able to get in and out of that is through the neighborhood. And to me, it doesn't make sense to start entering commercial into the middle of neighborhoods that way. So I too would ask that you vote against this measure.
Any other comment or question regarding ordinance 88? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
3 yes, 7 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 88 fails. We're now ready for the Finance Committee report. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 63, 2023, 24. First reading. This item was postponed at the April 4th, 2024 regular session. An ordinance amending the official code Title 12, Streets and Other Public Ways and Places, Chapter 1 in general, pertaining to Section 12-124 sidewalks, finance, and the Transportation, Streets, and Garage Committees both recommended disapproval.
Okay, we'll go to the sponsor of the ordinance. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you. I motion for approval of ordinance amending the official code, Title 12, Streets and Other Public Ways and Places.
Motion been made and properly seconded. You're recognized.
Thank you. I have a presentation.
All right,
Is it up? I'm sorry.
let's get it up and on the board, and then you can give us your presentation.
Okay.
You're recognized.
Thank you. So I wanted to kind of remind you, it's been a long time, so I wanted to walk back through a few things, some of the hows and whys and what I've done here. This is, I've shown mostly areas in my ward. Last week or last month, we had a person that came from Powell Road and presented their concerns. So I drove out and took some images of Powell Road as we're developing it now. So you can see this is new construction along Powell and Malone. And I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the images. This area is 3,142 feet from the schools, and the parent responsibility is 1 mile and 1.5 miles, and these homes are approximately 0.6 miles from the schools. So as you can see, we have new construction, brand new construction, and we do not have sidewalks in this area. And we have closed on houses, and now we're going back into brand new homes and brand new construction and putting in sidewalks. This is a home. This home is 1773 Powell Road. It sold for $5,999. Date of transfer is 2024. That was built without a sidewalk. And this is the one that they have put in. As you can see, this image is 1773. We've put the mailbox inside of the sidewalk. We voted to make Powell Road, we expanded and have built so many homes that Powell Road's now going to be a collector road, so it's striped. And you can see that this mailbox, brand new, hardly the cement's dried, is over the white line, and the house next door to it. So here is 1765 Powell Road. It's the same. We talked about last month, we talked about affordable and attainable housing and how not having sidewalks would drive up the cost. But really, it's not about cost because these are not affordable or attainable. And this road should have been widened and made safe for children. Oops, sorry, too fast. This is just one more example, and this one is further back in the road. This was all greenfield buildings, which means that, you know, it was not infill. Last month, the director of the streets talked about doing something different when he infills versus greenfield. But most of the ADA in other language, it's much cheaper and much easier to meet ADA standards when you build it new, as opposed to going back in and trying to fill it back in. This is Malone and Powell, the corner. And when I talk about the boundaries of the property and not just in front, and how we're not meeting ADA standards by continuing the sidewalks along the boundaries of our community, you can see exactly here, again, the kids in this neighborhood are required to walk to school. This was, again, brand new greenfield construction, and they did not put a sidewalk along the existing roadway. The big thing is to remark is who is picking up the tab for this construction. Most of the time it's taxpayers. Sometimes, and I believe in this instance when I tried to do my homework and I kind of did not find the answer, it's the next builder who is building and is required to widen the road. Now they have to do this building. This is Old Russellville Pike, and this area is kind of, when I first was elected, this area was inside of my district. And it's the same example of us taking a sidewalk out to the entrance of the community and stopping. This does not meet ADA. This does not meet any kind of access requirements as we move along. So, just to remember, like last month, Mr. Joyce Smith was here. He is the director of the Montgomery County Health Department, and I work with him on the Health Council. Our city, walkability helps us understand how well the design of our city supports walking and other activities. People who live in neighborhoods with high walkability are more likely to be active and how they get around, including walking and using public. Research found that people in such neighborhoods tend to have lower rates of diabetes and obesity than those living in less walkable neighborhoods. And a reminder, walkable neighborhoods often have less vehicle use, which can lead to the improved air. How does Clarksville measure? We are still, again, even with our influx of money, 17.3 out of 100 for our walkability score. What's very interesting is we are one of the youngest cities in Tennessee, and we have an obesity rate of 37.6% as compared to Tennessee's 31.2%. Estimated 23.1% of residents can walk to a park in 10 minutes in our town, compared to 61.5 nationwide. So these are very important health as well as safety. Our numbers continue to increase. Accidents, I mentioned, when I first introduced this a couple months ago, a good friend of mine, her brother-in-law was killed walking across the street from a bus stop because we don't have crosswalks and we don't have sidewalks. The legislative intent is to update sidewalk requirements And in the new ordinance, sidewalks are mandated on the boundaries of new developments, and they're mandatory along the property line within the site. And when I go back to the side, and you can see it on this, the edges of the side yards along along Powell Road and along Russellville, those should have a sidewalk as well. Enhanced accessibility, prioritizing pedestrian facilities for users with disabilities. Just a reminder, if I have a disability, I'm probably not going to be able to drive. I mean, depending on my disability, especially if my disability has to do with my vision. And so I rely on public transportation and the ability to walk to the public transportation and walk back safely. We also, as I spoke with the Access Board, they talk about pedestrian generators. And a bus stop is a pedestrian generator. And a rule that children have to walk to school if they live 1 mile from school or 1.5 miles, those are pedestrian generators. So when we create pedestrian generators and then we build after those laws have been in place, we could be liable for a lawsuit. So this makes clear mandates, requirements for new developments and property boundaries. And we talked about enforcement in the past. The enforcement mechanism is what the mechanism is for all of our ordinances. Building and codes, they will issue a certificate of occupancy. That is, and there are many examples of where we have different regulations from the county. For instance, the county requires a higher level of insulation in their homes when they're building because of fire safety and that they don't have as quick of response. So the builders are already very much used to managing the differences between the city and the county, and our legal authority is our ability to issue a certificate of occupancy. Our street department and our building and codes are required to follow our city ordinances. Developers understand the difference. Ensuring pedestrian safety, the idea of protruding objects, I showed you, this is a brand new, technically greenfield, and we have mailboxes in the middle. This is why I put in a requirement for a 2-foot green strip. We're trying to change the culture, and as the old Army adage goes, if it's not in writing, it's not going to happen. They have the ability, the director has the ability to waiver it. I did try to find out who said we could do that along Powell Road, and honestly, I was kind of turned in a circle of finger pointing. This ordinance would make the buck stop and put it in writing as far as our street department, if those are granted. The other thing is reducing. I know right now ADA does allow us to go to 32 inches from 36. If you've ever tried to walk down a sidewalk with a child in a stroller, that's pretty much not safe. But under the new ProWalk, that will not be allowed. So again, if we don't enact some of these rules, we're just really transferring the cost to our taxpayers. We've talked about the improved transparency for waivers. We talked about that last week. Just as a reminder, the Director of Streets does have the authority, especially on infill. We all recognize that infill will have to have waivers because of topographic or just road widths, etc. And that was built in, and he actually helped write that language. But we're not approving it. We're not overriding him. We're just making it transparent. I think cost is very important. The cost of not building it right the first time is eminent domain. We do it every couple months. We have 2 or 3 eminent domains. Increased cost to taxpayers, or passing the buck to the next builder. So not addressing a lack of connectivity now will cost our taxpayers every time we perform maintenance. And it's a huge health cost to our community. So to wrap it up, the conflicts, where there is conflicts, we follow the more stringent criteria. Where there is width, collector roads are 5 feet, local roads are 4 feet, and which is a compromise, and a barrier zone of 2 feet. This is again, I showed you the image of brand new buildings of why that's important to put that in writing. I do have an amendment that I would like to submit. So I'd like to put that on the table, please. The Karen Reynolds amendment.
If you'll hold up your written amendment, because I've got paper all over the place here.
Okay.
Is that the brief one?
No, sir.
It's not the brief one?
This one right here?
It's the longer one? Longer version.
The long version. It's the actual ordinance with the whereas statements.
Okay. That is that is your first amendment to this ordinance?
Yes, yes, Mayor.
Okay.
And it's the one that was sent out in the email ahead
Okay.
of time to everyone.
You've heard the motion. It's properly seconded. I've got you. Okay. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized on your amendment.
All right. This amendment, this amendment has incorporated much of Councilperson McLaughlin Ward 2 issues, not issues, but concerns from our meeting at the committee. I put some of those in, as well as I met with Mr. Bittner and changed some of the language. If it's in red without lines, that is new language. The major change is actually item, let me see, is item Q, no, not Q, is, which one is
If you'll
it?
give us a page number, that'll,
Help, okay. So on page 3, that is the protruding objects is really not a change. It is just, I broke up a previous statement to make that easier. But it's item 4, the actual, how they can, what's allowable for a waiver. I added, if developing party does not own land on both sides of the roadway that is proposed for sidewalks, then that's a waiver that is automatic from the street department.
is that still on page 3?
Page 4,
Okay.
item E,
Okay.
4.
Okay.
All right. And then on page 5, there is really not really a change on item 5C. That is language that was changed. I just made it clearer based on input from the city lawyer, Mr. Bittner. And then when you go to page 6, G, placement of sidewalks, I changed, I just took out the repetitiveness and referred them back to section E that we were just looking at. And then, item on page 9, item 5, I put ADA published standards. So to meet the concerns, the standards that we follow are the published standards. I do have an amendment to my amendment based on Mr. Bittner's input.
Well, let's address this one first.
Okay.
Because the list is long as a nickel shoestring on here. Okay. Anything else on this first amendment?
No, unless people have questions.
Well, we got a list. Councilperson McLaughlin on this amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Try not to confuse things, but I'd like to make a motion to adopt the McLaughlin amendment. Second.
Motion been made and properly second to adopt the McLaughlin amendment. You're
I'll hit the
recognized.
highlights. So this is what was combined of the sponsor and me from last month with one clarification. I'll just quickly highlight the substantive changes. The big concern was the city attorney had mentioned legalities on requiring somebody to follow a policy that hasn't been adopted, enacted, and published. So if you go to page 4, K, I struck out section 1 and created a new section 1, specifically speaking that the city of Clarksville, we would tie people to the PROWOG and ADA, not TDOT, because it still referenced TDOT, that we would follow TDOT guidelines. And then also, if you go to the top of page 5, it says the most recent published, approved, and enacted version of ADA standards as appropriate. So that satisfies what the city attorney's concerns were with what version. So the best way to explain this is there might be something published, an update that may be published this year. But until, under this amendment, until it's published, approved, and enacted, we tie people to the previous published, approved, and enacted policy. It's like if we pass legislation here, it's not official until the mayor signs off of it, on it, and the city clerk files it. We voted on it, it's enacted once it's been signed off on. So that, for legality reasons, is why I'm proposing that. And that exact same language is also mentioned at the top of page 7. And then this is the same thing I had mentioned in my amendment last month, is at the bottom of page 7, the ordinance is effective immediately after city council approval for any not yet submitted preliminary subdivision plats or site plans or other planning documents. So that will clarify that people who've already submitted a plan or have started those conversations aren't tied to update if they've already started the engineering work, and that would also apply to City of Clarksville projects. And then number 1, the sidewalk ordinance will not take effect, will not affect any developments, government or other, that were submitted before the second and final city council approval. And that's to address the concerns of Mr. Smith about, do we have to go back and fix projects that we already have under engineering? So that's basically it. It's kind of making sure that we're not holding people on City of Clarksville streets to the same TDOT standards, because the way it read before, that was what it was. TDOT has their own standards. And then also making sure that the legal question that came up last month about what version, so published, approved, and enacted means it's voted on, it's signed off, it's approved, and it's out there and enacted. So that is basically what I'm trying to do. This is the same thing I presented last month, except for I made a mistake on the section 1 that I've crossed out. I just wanted to separate City of Clarksville roads from TDOT roads.
Okay, so we have the McLaughlin amendment to the Reynolds amendment properly before us. We have a list, and I'll call your name if you'd like to discuss the McLaughlin amendment. Councilperson Zacharias?
No, on the main motion.
Okay. Councilperson Streetman on the McLaughlin amendment to the Reynolds amendment. All right. Councilperson Reynolds to the McLaughlin amendment to your amendment?
Yes, Mayor, and
You're recognized.
with your permission, I'd like to address the councilperson from Ward 2 directly.
Sure.
So I do want, first of all, if you read this, I think 90% of this was done in the new one, in mine. The only issue, and I don't know the way that we should do this, is I have some amendments here of cleaning up documentation that is not in yours, such as where I had added number E and moved things around a little bit. So if we adopt yours, then the additional, so what I would ask, and if I had a preference, and I don't know how to ask this appropriately, is that we would have adopted mine first and then laid yours on top of my amendment. That because, or I could come back with the cleanup next month. That would be, take yours. And again, if you look at, I discussed, and it doesn't change anything that you've asked for. It is really, what was it, number E, where I added item number 5, and then I had cleaned out some later on. I had cleaned that up and just referenced that paragraph instead of rewriting it. And so my only concern is that we're going to miss that cleanup that I worked with the lawyer. So is it possible to, and I don't know the right way to do this, maybe Mr. Bittner, is to vote for mine and then add yours on top of it, or I could come back and do mine next month.
Well, the posture we're in, is this an amendment to your amendment? We have to dispose of this amendment to your amendment. If this ordinance survives first reading, then we can come back and offer the cleanup language on the second reading.
Okay,
If it doesn't, then it's moot point.
I can do that, I can do
Okay.
that.
Councilperson Allen, on the McLaughlin amendment to the Reynolds amendment,
Yeah.
you're recognized.
So, this is what I'm understanding. I'm understanding that this amendment is to this amendment, right? So if this amendment is to this amendment, anything that changes here will be laid on top of here. So if you added E, that'll still be in there, correct?
Is that a question to the sponsor?
That's a question
You're
to somebody that can answer how I'm voting.
To the sponsor of the amendment, Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
So this would replace what the prior amendment is, based on my conversation with the city attorney.
Right. So this McLaughlin amendment would replace the Reynolds First Amendment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Councilperson Reynolds, on the amendment that's before us, you're recognized.
I would just like to ask, Councilperson McLaughlin, I'd asked, that mine be sent out. Did you compare what you're asking for to what my new one, what the amendment was?
Yeah, let's don't call names. Let's
I'm
refer
sorry.
to them as words, please. Go ahead. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
In response to the previous speaker, I did, and the clarification on the approved, enacted, and published wasn't fixed, and also that the way that the amendment is written, it still doesn't address that everybody would have to comply with TDOT standards or whatever's the most stringent, or, does that make sense? So the way that all of the versions have been prior to my amendment have not addressed the fact that anybody that builds a sidewalk is going to be required to do what TDOT is saying that they're going to do at 5 feet or whatnot. So those are the two main things. And the city attorney did mention last month that it wasn't clear on what version of those standards we would follow. And I'm not trying to walk all over what you've done, but those are the two things I'm hung up on. I want to make sure that we're not requiring people, including the city of Clarksville government, to build sidewalks that are TDOT standards on neighborhood roads, because we are not TDOT roads that are 4 or 5 lanes. They should be 8 in some cases. But anyway, I'm not trying to walk on your work. I want you to understand that. I'm just trying to clean up the two things that have come up several times in conversation, both here when this has come up, and then also the city attorney had mentioned it last month and got the aha part. So that's really the only two changes that I'm recommending. This is exactly what you was on our agenda when it got postponed, with just those changes. So.
Councilperson Reynolds, you have the floor.
Sorry.
Well, I did sit down with the city lawyer and discuss, but again, I will, that's fine. I think that I agree that we'll just do that, and then I will come back with my cleanup pieces. Because some of them were just like pushing things together.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilperson Allen, you're back on the board. Is this on the amendment? Main motion. On the main motion. Okay. All right. We're now on the McLaughlin amendment to the Reynolds amendment. Are you ready to vote? Got an amendment. Paul, is there? Okay. All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
8 yes, 2 no, 0 abstain.
Okay, the McLaughlin amendment to the Reynolds amendment is adopted. We're now on the ordinance as amended. Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized on the ordinance as amended.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I've spoken in favor of this ordinance a couple times now, and I don't want to waste anybody's time by repeating myself. But I did get a new piece of information, and I did ask permission to share. And I think it's relevant because last week, or maybe it was last month, we were asked to listen to the expert. Like, what does the expert say? So I have this to offer. I received a photograph and a text message before from our director of the Regional Planning Commission, And he says, please pass the sidewalk ordinance. He provided a picture that was very much representative of some of the situations with poles in the middle of the sidewalk. He said it was a bit scary of a ride, even though we were supposed to stay on the marked shoulder. I asked for his permission to share his message, and he said, sure. I'm sick of kicking the can any further, and yes, doing things right costs money. That's the director of our regional planning commission saying, please pass this. It's in the comprehensive plan. We are charged, city leadership is charged with coming up with ways to improve our critical pedestrian infrastructure. We can start today. Please vote yes on this. Thank you.
Councilperson Streetman on the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to kind of address here, Mr. Bittner had sent out an email to all of us, and I appreciate his work on all of this. We had a slide presentation tonight regarding Powell Road, and I'm going to quote out of this. In the slide presentation, I assume the current ordinance was interpreted to waive sidewalks as Powell Road was not a newly constructed road. The current city sidewalk ordinance states that sidewalks shall be mandatory within any new development along newly constructed public roads and dedicated permanent roadway easements in all zoning districts with the exception of districts M2 and M3 industrial, and shall meet the requirements of this. The section of this ordinance has been widely interpreted and read that sidewalks are only required in developments where new roads are constructed and that existing roads are exempt. I recommend the verbiage of the current ordinance be changed with a punctuation comma to eliminate the ambiguity. That's the exact same recommendation that we got from the director of the street department, who is an expert, who came up here and said that the only request that he asked for was that we make this change so that it's along there. I also don't want to go into trying to repeat myself on everything, and I will agree with you that these changes are going to cost the city money. But we're essentially telling Mr. Smith, you know, how to design and do sidewalks instead of listening to him and trusting in his ability to do his job. We're not. Are we sitting up here and telling Mr. Riggins how he needs to design all of the gas lines and everything involved with that? Or are we trusting his judgment in how this is done? And I still have concerns that we are putting Mr. Smith in the crosshairs here when we're stating that the access board, I believe it's still in here, and the person to Ward 2, I was trying to read through, that it's still saying that the final say is based on this, and she's lit up, so I'm sure she'll answer that. But that's a concern that I've had from the beginning, and that's also been a concern of Mr. Smith. So once again, I'm still going to be voting against this. I support sidewalks, which we are already doing. I know there's been a lot of talk about our walkability score, but I think something that's not being taken into consideration is how vast our city is and how very much it is spread out. That's one of the reasons that there's been work to get infill on that. But people are not going to walk from one side of town all the way to the other side of town. I have see sidewalks all on my drive, and I rarely actually even see people walking on them. But again, I will be voting against this measure. I appreciate all the work that our street department is currently doing to try and get more sidewalks in place. It is not a quick process. It does take time. There's a lot that goes into it, but they are steadily working to get those sidewalks put down.
Councilperson Allen on the ordinance.
Yes. So I want to give an example of why we need this sidewalk ordinance to pass. On the corner of Needmore and Hazelwood Road, there is a brand new gas station. Everybody knows about the gas station. We also have a brand new light there, right? So a while ago, we were asked to send in information to the street department that says, okay, what would you like to see? So in sending that in, I sent in, hey, we need some sidewalks and we need some crosswalks because people are going to be walking to the store. Can we get it before this store opens? That was my question to our street department, because that was the person we were told to send it to. In sending that in, we now have people walking in the grass to get to, and that road right there is considered a border road. And that's what some of this right here is going to change, is that our border roads have to have sidewalks. So that is a border road right there. So you come out of the subdivision has sidewalks, and that road does not. So we have children riding bikes in the middle of the street. We have children walking to the store. It's going to get worse over the summer, and we don't have any way to protect our children that are going to walk to the store. I had nothing, anything to say we really need to do this. We don't have any rules that says that this needs to happen. So with this, with especially the boundaries outside of the subdivisions, getting sidewalks and making sure, I think it's a lot for safety. We finally have a store in our neighborhood and our kids aren't safe walking to it. So that's one of my examples of why this needs to pass. If the city code has a specific way to build sidewalks, then we need to build them that way. I was told when I asked, okay, aren't we already following ADA? Aren't we already following whatever pro-walk was in there? Yes, we are. So why are we still having sidewalks that have stuff protruding out of them? It shouldn't be happening. That's not ADA accessible. So I don't know why it's happening. We're saying trust our departments and everything like that, but we have stuff sticking out our sidewalks and we've all seen them. I think that passing something that would make that go away would be wonderful. The bump pads on the corners, I just seen one coming up and it's just sitting there. And everybody knows how I feel about people with disabilities. It's just sitting there. So we need, if we're going to say that we're already doing it, we need to do it. Thank you.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, once again, Mayor, I'd like to address the councilperson from Ward 2.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
So I had put an amendment based on the previous speaker's question about Mr. Bittner's remarks about not being able to take away the authorization of the other areas. And basically, I just removed that sentence. I'd like to put that forward unless you really feel differently.
Councilperson McLaughlin, it's directed to you.
I feel like I'm in a ping pong game and I'm
You
the
are.
ball. So I'm trying to keep up here.
You're it.
So
A little one.
Oh, that one.
A
Okay.
little one.
I think the proper thing would be to dispose of this and then amend that in. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, we are on the ordinance as amended. So we're on the main ordinance as amended. So if we're going to get another amendment in there, we need to act on this one. So Councilperson Reynolds, if you want to make the motion for your short amendment,
The short one.
okay, you'll need to do that. You're recognized.
So I'd like to motion for an amendment to the McLaughlin amendment. Oh, no, to the main motion.
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion to adopt the amendment to the ordinance 63 as amended, properly seconded. Would you please explain?
So there was a note from Mr. Bittner saying that he had concerns that we could not, that we were not authorized to say that only the street department can waive this. And I mean, our street department and our building code still have to follow our stated ordinances, but I recommend that we just remove that sentence, and all I did was move the bottom line up one. Unfortunately, and I do want to say that it changes, that this amendment was not written exactly as her amendment is. It doesn't, the wording doesn't exactly match the amendment of Councilperson McLaughlin. But basically, taking Q out, taking that statement, just removing it.
Removing it, but replacing it with what's in the dark?
No, actually, that was just the last line. There was not a replacement. I should have just left that. Basically, I just want to take it out.
Okay.
So the
So-
McLaughlin amendment, if you go to the McLaughlin amendment, taking out
So
Q.
it's no longer the McLaughlin amendment, it's the ordinance 63
Okay.
as amended.
So,
And
so
tell
basically,
us what we're doing.
we're just gonna remove Q on page 7 of the approved amendment.
Okay.
Just remove it.
All right, everybody understand what we're doing? What the amendment, the short amendment, what you see before you is not exactly what she wants to do. It's to strike the item Q, correct?
Yeah.
It's been properly seconded. Any comment or question, Councilperson McLaughlin, on this amendment?
No, I agree with it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment or question about this amendment? All right, we're voting on this amendment to remove Q, item Q, in its entirety. Every member, please cast your vote. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
8 yes, 2 no, 0 abstain.
The amendment is adopted. We're now on the main motion as amended again, ordinance 63. Any further comment or question? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
5 yes, 5 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 63 fails. Chairperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Give me one moment. Ordinance 92, 2023, 24, first reading, an ordinance amending the official code, Part 2, Title 1.5, Human Resources, Chapter 15, Miscellaneous, Section 1.5-1501, Holidays, to add Good Friday as a recognized holiday in place of President's Day. This is sponsored by Councilperson Travis Holloman. The Finance Committee recommended disapproval.
Councilperson Holloman, you're the sponsor. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So pretty much what all this does is this swaps President's Day for Good Friday. And that's about the extent of it. So I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval.
Motion been made in favor of ordinance 92, properly seconded. Council, go ahead, Councilman Holloman, you're
Okay.
recognized.
So if you look at President's Day on the calendar, it's typically falls on a Monday in February. And not arguing the religious aspect of this. I'm just arguing just that the way it falls on the calendar. It falls on a Monday in February, and we're trading that Monday in February for a day in either a Friday in either March or April. And so you're trading a Monday for a Friday, and so you're still getting a 3-day weekend. It's I think it's better placement as far as the calendar goes for the days off for our employees, and I think it's something that they would enjoy.
Okay, you've heard the explanation. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
I'm just curious if there was any feedback from the departments since we raised this last meeting about what their feeling was of how it would affect their subordinates by swapping a federal holiday for a state observed holiday.
There hasn't been any formal discussion yet. We haven't had a department head meeting nor any kind of survey of employees, but we are gathering data.
Okay, and so this is ordinance, so we would be able to have that data on the second reading, possibly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Possibly.
Thank you. And then the only other thing is, when we discussed this in my town hall meeting on Tuesday, one of my constituents noticed that Juneteenth was not mentioned in here, and that is a newly added holiday. So I just want to make sure everybody knows, city employees, you still get Juneteenth off.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to, this switch in these days could affect daycare. It affects many of our military people. Is a daycare going to be open or closed, depending on what day? Many places close for the federal holiday, and then, so if I'm married to active duty soldier, my days off are not the same for vacation days. I know as a soldier, I often took trips during that time with my family. So I will be voting against this because I think that we should keep the federal holiday.
Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
Okay, so the previous council member has addressed a lot of the concerns, so I'm not gonna repeat those, that I feel the same way about. But my question is, for Good Friday, does the city have a open leave policy for Good Friday? Because, sometimes it's like when it's not really a holiday, you can offer open leave and say, hey, if you want to take this day off, you can. If you don't have to. Does the city have anything like that? I know we do.
We don't have an open leave policy. They can request vacation time, and it depends on availability of the workforce in a particular department or division or office as to whether they're granted. That's strictly up to the department head.
Okay, that's up to the department. Okay, thank you.
Councilperson Streetman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep it brief, and I appreciate the thought process or the reasoning for this request by the sponsor. However, one thing that was addressed during the Finance Committee was Ms. Matta did talk about the fact that the way Good Friday could fall is that it could sometimes occur in the middle of April, and that is when especially her department is heavy in the budget season. So it would be good chances that those in her department wouldn't actually be able to take the holiday off because they're not even able to take vacation days during that time. Might not be as big of an effect when it's in March, but in the April timeframe, it could be an issue for them. So I'm mainly giving that information in response to an earlier question that was asked as far as feedback, as that is something that was presented.
Councilperson Marquis, you're recognized.
Thank you. I do have a question, based on the amount of time, I guess, cities are allowed to give for federal holidays. Is there a particular time? Because my question would be, why are we replacing instead of just adding it, I guess? Why not just leave President's Day and?
Is that a question for the sponsor?
Yeah, or whoever can answer.
You're recognized. Councilperson Holloman.
So it was originally approached to me just to simply add Good Friday as a holiday, and just looking at it, for me and myself, my personal opinion, I couldn't justify just adding another holiday with the additional cost to the city. So I just kind of compromised and decided, you know what, I'm not going to propose a new holiday, but I would be willing to swap.
I guess, how does it cost the city money for that? You said swapping.
For if you add an additional paid holiday, it adds about what, 300,000.
Okay, yeah, I
so
see that
per day.
Okay, yeah, I got you now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering, because why the swap instead of just an addition? But yeah, that makes sense now with the dates and the cost. All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comment or question on this ordinance? Seeing none, hearing none, are you ready to vote? All members, please cast your vote. Every member voted. Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
2 yes, 8 no, 0 abstain.
Ordinance 92 fails. Chairperson Streetman.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
All right. We're now ready for the Gas and Water Committee report. Chairperson Holloman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. All righty, gas and water. In the near future, gas and water crews will begin replacing aged water valves throughout the downtown area from Spring Street to University Avenue between College Street and Madison Street, and then in the Riverside Drive area. These efforts will lessen the impact of downtown businesses affected during future leaks and outages. Clarksville Gas and Water's annual drinking water quality report was released yesterday. Customers will receive the report throughout the month of May as an insert in their mailed billing statements, or available of a link to view online through their electronic bill. The report is also being hand-delivered to non-billing customers throughout the water service area. Gas and Water was recently awarded a grant by the Tennessee Underground Utility Damage Enforcement Board in conjunction with the department's plans to produce a quarterly magazine to be utilized for customer awareness. The grant has potential reimbursement of up to $40,000 towards the setup and initial run of the first issues of said magazine. We look forward to the first issue provided to gas and water customers around the first of the next calendar year. So that'll probably be January 2025. You can expect that. And that will conclude my report.
Thank you. Any comment or question about this committee report? Seeing none, we're now ready for the Neighborhood and Community Services Committee and the interim chair, Councilperson Streetman. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Chairman Shakina sent me an email and requested that I read his report due to the fact that he would not be here for tonight's meeting. The May meeting of the Neighborhood and Community Services Committee has been moved to Thursday, May 9th, 2024, immediately following the Clarksville Neighborhood and Community Services budget review at 4 p.m. The meeting will be held in the 4th floor conference room of City Hall. The Clarksville Neighborhood and Community Services 2024-2025 Annual Action Plan is now available for review and public through May 19th, 2024. Public meetings were held on April 30th and May 1st. Residents are invited to review the plan on the city's website and submit their questions or comments to community@cityofclarksville.com or contact Michelle Austin at 931-648-6133. Once closed, the final plan will be presented to the council via resolution in June. Long-term recovery from the December 9, 2024 tornado continues. Several multi-agency resource fairs are being planned for the North Clarksville area. The events will allow residents to meet one-on-one with local builders and caseworkers to help navigate challenges that have arisen during residents' rebuild and home repair. Other agencies will be on hand to offer different forms of assistance, such as mental and spiritual support, volunteer work, and financial support. Signage will be placed in high-traffic areas of affected communities. The first will be held on June 8, 2024, from 12 to 2 p.m. at Champions Christian Community Church. If you are interested in hosting a resource fair in your ward, please reach out to Kristen Jaggers with United Way or Michelle Austin with the Clarksville Neighborhood and Community Services Department. Please continue to refer residents with unmet tornado needs to 211 or the city's tornado page at clarksvilletn.gov to register for one-on-one assistance. This includes debris, housing, mental health, and other financial support. CNCS encourages you to share this information in your community and with your constituents. Please follow Clarksville Neighborhood and Community Services on Facebook for more information on these topics or other programs. And I would also just really like to commend the department for all of their work that they have done since the December 9th tornado. They have been instrumental in many things that have occurred since then and are continually working hard in recovering from that incident. So I want to say thank you to everyone in that department, as well as the nonprofits, including United Way, for all of their work to try and take care of the members of our community.
Thank you. Any comment or question regarding this committee report? Seeing none, we're ready for Parks and Recreation Committee. Chairperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Oh, man, you guys, 1 second. I just had it up here. Okay, sorry about that. The Parks and Recreation Department launched the Spark Scholarship Program aimed at providing positive experiences to families within the city limits of Clarksville. This program is designed to support families by offering discount scholarships, enabling them to participate in a variety of programs. More information about the Spark Scholarship Program, including eligibility criteria and application details, can be found on our website at clarksvilleparksrec.com under the How Do I menu. Join us this summer from 6 to 9 p.m. on the third Thursday of the month for the Summer Concert Series. It's a free concert series featuring local music and food trucks in our neighborhood parks. The first event will be Jazz Night at McGregor Park on May 16th. Opening day of the downtown market is right around the corner on Saturday. Georgia May's pecan pies are coming back. All right. At our farmers market, you will find fresh local produce, local handmade goods, tasty food, and live music, all while supporting sustainable practices that promote a greener future. And for more information and a complete list of programs, classes, and ongoing activities, please visit clarksvilleparksrec.com and join us on Saturday for the ribbon cutting at Edith Pettis Park.
What was the name of the pie again?
Georgia Mays.
Okay, all right. Any comment or question regarding this committee report? Councilperson Smith, you recognized.
Yes, Ward 1, can you tell me what time to be at the park on Saturday? What
10
time?
10
At 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment or question? Seeing none, we're ready for
Okay.
Parks and Recreation.
I did this for the community.
Oh, okay.
But you didn't say the time.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Parks and Recreation Committee report. You're recognized, Chairperson Zacharias.
That concludes my report.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's, all right, Public Safety Committee. That's what I meant to say.
Okay. I can do
You're
that one, too.
recognized.
Oh my God, where's all this stuff going? All right. I swear I'm prepared. All right. So the Clarksville Police Department currently has 10 vacancies and looking like 10 good candidates to fill those vacancies later this month. We are expecting those several to retire in June and more vacancies in the future. So if you are interested in joining the Clarksville Police Department, please inquire with them. Next Tuesday, we'll graduate the 49th Citizens Police Academy. Congratulations to those students, and thank you for your commitment to the program. Next Monday, we'll be taking applications for our Teen Citizens Police Academy to be held June 24th through 28th. The class fills fast, so please don't delay in completing those applications. And why don't you join us at 8 o'clock on Saturday for the ribbon cutting of the Clarksville Fire Rescue new headquarters building.
Okay, you
That
heard.
concludes my report.
All right, thank you. It's 8:30 on Saturday morning. You can get there at 8 if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. All right, need a comment or question
Good
regarding this
parking.
committee report? Seeing none, we're ready for Transportation, Streets, and Garage Committee. Chairperson Smith, you're recognized.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The CTS committee reports for April are as follows. CTS transported a total of 46,925 riders. For the fixed routes, there was 42,773 riders. Paratransit riders was 4,152. Senior fixed routes, which was free, there was 7,741 riders. CTS is working with Wendell Architect and Engineering to design a new transit center. A list of public outreach events for gathering public and stakeholders' input will be published soon. The next report will be the Street Department. Street Department operation report. Work orders completed for April was 196. Spring cleanup will continue to take orders until May the 5th. So far, they had 185 tickets completed. Tornado cleanup, almost completed. They did 100 locations plus. Roads paved in March. It should be April. They have March on here, but that should be April. Okay. Memorial Madison Street area, Huncote Drive area, Holly Point subdivision. Planned paving in April is Wilson Green subdivision, downtown, Dunlop Lane. Okay, that concludes that report. I just read them like they put them. How they write it out, I just read it just like they put it. Sometimes it's shorthand, sometimes it looks good, sometimes I don't know what it is. I'm just doing the best I can with what I got. The total of citywide, and this is for the city garage, the total number of citywide work orders is 386. And then we're going to go on down to fuel purchase by the city garage for on-site fuel pumps. Unleaded total cost was $119,050.79. Diesel total cost was $33,387.76. Fuel cost for unleaded, the last delivery was April 26, 2024, $3.18 per gallon, an increase of 12% from $2.84 in March. They got March 25th, 24. Okay. Fuel cost for diesel was $2.68 per gallon. Last delivery was April 24, 24. A decrease of 3.9% from $2.79 in March as well. This concludes my reports for TSG.
All right, you've heard it here. Any comment or question regarding these reports? Councilperson Streetman, did you wish to be recognized?
Sorry, I hit
Okay.
it too quick.
All right. We're now ready for mayor and council member comments. Now, Councilperson Streetman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody in the community that's not already aware of it, that tomorrow night on the Food Network at 8 p.m. Central, they will be covering they've come to Clarksville, visited some of our great local restaurants that are locally owned and operated, and I invite you to tune in to watch it on Food Network at 8 o'clock. And then after that, go check out some of these great restaurants and support them. We have some wonderful opportunities here in our community, and I invite you to visit them all.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson McLaughlin, you're recognized.
Just a reminder, if you didn't get your Slow Down Tennessee sign last week, I have some more. I got another stash in my car, so you're all welcome to have one. And then also, May, around the 15th of May is National Police Week. May 15th is designated as Police Memorial Day, so be sure to thank your police officers for their service to our community every day, but especially during Police Week. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comment or question? Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
I just want to say, Memorial Day is coming up. This is our first holiday since President's Day. So be safe out there and take the time to, not have memories. What am I trying to say?
Memorialize.
Memorialize. That's what it is. Memorialize your veterans, your first responders, and people that have died in serving our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Zacharias, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the month of May, and just recognize all of the contributions that those members of our community add to the city of Clarksville. Makes it great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment from council? On Sunday morning, April the 28th, there was a significant fire at the wheel shop on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard, one of our premier locally owned businesses. While the building and contents were a total loss, no one was seriously injured. We did have 3 firefighters that received minor injuries, and thank God they're okay. I want to commend Clarksville Fire Rescue, the Clarksville Police Department, Gas and Water, our Street Department, and Montgomery County First Responders for their response. And we'll ask you to pray for Steve and Cindy Ashby as they consider whether to rebuild a business that was doing so well. Any other comment or question? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Without objection, we're adjourned.